Hello there, good afternoon and welcome to The Pulse. We are coming to you live from our studios in Kokomlimle on your Digistart terrestrial TV because we are free to air on DSTV channel 421, GoTV channel 144. Thanks for choosing us. We are Joy News, independent, fearless and credible journalism. Coming up in the next hour, fear, frustration and panic buying. The story of Ghanaians resident in Ukraine as Russia invades its eastern region and what experts say is a recipe for full-blown war with dire consequences for fuel prices and the global economy at large. And Fair Wages and Salaries Commission opens fresh talks with University Teachers Association of Ghana, but it is a start of a bigger push by the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission to douse the rising tensions on the industrial front. We speak to officials of the Commission shortly. I'm Blessed Sugan. The Pulse is brought to you by Global Communities Digni Lu, affordable, safe sanitation. Don't forget that we're streaming as well on YouTube and all of our social media handles. JoyNews on TV, Twitter at us with the hashtag The Pulse. My personal handle is at Blessed Sugan. Always a pleasure serving you here on The Pulse. Well, this afternoon, we know that Ghana's Foreign Minister, Shirley Ayokoboche, has revealed that immediate steps are being taken to safeguard Ghanaian citizens caught up in the tensions between Russia and Ukraine. This afternoon, it's been a cry of frustration on the lips of Ghanaians resident in Ukraine. They are actually desperately looking for food supplies and are a very safe place to hide as they are unsure of what could happen. Already, Russia has launched a special military operation in Ukraine's eastern Donbass region. But here in Ghana as well, authorities are equally concerned about residents in that part of the world. Here in Ghana, the Foreign Minister, Shirley Ayokoboche, has been commenting on the matter earlier today.
Ukraine is under siege, and that means that apart from the fact that a lot has been said, a lot of diplomatic moves have been made to stop the aggression. Unfortunately, it hasn't worked. So we're all waiting to see what will happen. And for us this morning, we're trying to figure out what to do with our nationals who are resident in Ukraine. It is becoming quite difficult from where we sit to move them. So we need to ensure that they are safe and that they are keeping safe. So we're engaged very much on this this morning. So thank you so much for coming.
So that's the confirmation we're getting from the Foreign Minister there that actions and immediate steps are being taken on the matter. Fanny Faska with our partner station DW has the latest from the Ukrainian capital on this. The situation in Ukraine is obviously escalating. What a night it has been and what a morning also for people in the capital Kyiv. But Franska, what is the situation like in Kyiv where you are right now?
Explosions this morning that really was a shock to many here. People in Kyiv didn't think even to the last minute that actually Russia is going to go so far as assaulting Kyiv, the capital city. After all, also Vladimir Putin pointed out in this surprising televised address this morning that this is quote a military operation in eastern Ukraine. But it turns out there are various reports that explosions are heard in many parts of the country, shellings and reports of people being injured and killed. Now the problem is we cannot verify this information, so I'm not even going to talk about any numbers at this point, because as this escalation has entered a new phase, there are various accusations between Russian forces and Ukrainian government official military information. What is actually currently happening on the ground? I can only tell you what I've been experiencing this morning, and that was a very, very critical situation. People here were packing up, trying to leave by car from the hotel where we are at this point. Also, we are hearing that there are a lot of people lined up at gasoline stations trying to fill up on gas, trying to leave to neighboring countries, Slovakia, Poland, towards the west. But we also hear at this point, if you're trying to leave Kyiv, it's in fact almost impossible to go towards the west. So much traffic has built up. Again, there are also people who are just staying put and trying to inform themselves actually actually where is the nearest shelter when those sirens are going to go off again, likely as they did this morning, siren warning, or in fact telling people this is the time that you should look for your closest shelter.
Right then, and France keeping her eyes on that for us with our partnership station DW. Will be definitely giving you updates in our subsequent bulletins here on the Joy News channel, but there's a need for us obviously to have a conversation on this. Fortunately, we're joined on Zoom by Kojo Pobi, who's the president of the National Union of Ghanaian Students in Russia. Philip Bobier Ansah is also president of the National Union of Ghanaian Students, resident in Ukraine itself, where all of this tension is building up. And fortunately, Dr. Patrick is Popolampo Dovis with the Media and Communications Secretary for the Global Union of Ghanaian Scholars. He is also joining us on this, and he's also a former Nukes Russia president. I'm grateful, gentlemen, that you've been able to join us here on The Pulse. Let me start off with you, Doc, on this matter. What's your impression about the reaction that we're getting from the government of Ghana? The minister is revealing to us that immediate steps are being taken now to safeguard Ghanaians abroad. What's the best strategy for you in approaching all of this?
Well, thank you very much, and very good afternoon to your listeners as well. I must say that in as much as we all were aware that there's been this kind of tension between Russia and Ukraine, we all didn't see this coming as it did. It took us all by surprise. However, since we had this whole issue, we've been in constant communication with all the stakeholders. We've been speaking to the leadership of both students' unions in Ukraine and Russia as well. And we've also been in touch with government as well. We've been speaking to ambassadors, Ghanaian ambassadors across Europe, as well as the Consular General in charge of Ukraine as well. And we've been up to date with what's going on. As the Minister of Foreign Affairs has indicated, it's actually quite difficult currently to talk about evacuation because it seems it's quite difficult to even get out of the country. So, I mean, the best way forward is for government to see to it that immediate steps are put in place to ensure that our nationals over there, predominantly students, are in the safest means or livelihoods as far as their well-being is concerned, that is not affected. So that's what we've been working towards. As it stands, we're just trying our best to handle the situation and to encourage families, loved ones, parents as well, regarding their young ones and their students and all of them over there. And we hope that there'll be some kind of de-escalation as far as the situation is concerned.
And very shortly, I'll be bringing you back for us to analyze the matter the more. Just hold on for us. Kojo Pobi is also president of Nukes there in Russia, also in Ukraine as well. Philip Bobier Ansah is also the president right there in Ukraine where all of this is unfolding. So Philip, I'd want to hear from you first of all. What's the immediate concern of your colleague students there in Kyiv where you are?
Okay, for now, I think things are a bit calm. Students were panicking when we first heard the news at dawn in the morning. They were calling because this is a new whole experience for them. They've never experienced something like this in their lives, coming from Ghana. So you can see the psychological, impact and mental impact it will have on them. So right. I think, but for now, they've actually managed the situation well. We've communicated, which we have been doing consistently, advising them and encouraging them what measures they can do, what things that they can put in place now so that they can ensure safety for themselves as we wait on the measures that governments will present to us.
Right,
So
and
now,
we've had the minister speak on that. She says immediate steps are being taken. What's the level of engagement between the mission perhaps in Moscow and where you are? What's been the interaction between the student front and then the Ghanaian officials, the foreign mission there?
Okay, we in Ukraine communicate through Switzerland and not through Russia.
Right.
So I think today it's been high. The communication has been high. We've been consistent, updating them on matters. They also update us on what steps are being taken, and they gave us those assurances, and we also lay them off to our people. So I think that has helped to brought a bit of calmness among the population here. So students are calm now as compared to the morning.
And give us a picture of what the situation is now. We understand that it's a cry for help, the need for you to have food storage assured, and the fact that I mean, a lot of your members need to be assured that they will be safe, because as we speak now, it appears you can't move out of the region immediately. How are your colleague students taking this, and what's their state of mind as we speak? Paint that picture for us.
Okay, so I think yesterday when President Zelensky, president of Ukraine, announced the state of emergency, we immediately also issued a statement out to our people about what it means in this condition, in this state. One of the few things we told them was to start getting foodstuffs and water and any other personal things, they might need in this instance. So I think some of them started doing that yesterday, even going to ATMs to try to withdraw as much as possible that they can, keep for the upkeep. So some of them did that, but for today, as we didn't expect the things to escalate to this extent today. We were all caught by a surprise. So today, some of the students went out to get food and all of that, but due to the huge queues and all of that by Ukrainians and other foreigners, some of them couldn't get it. So we've encouraged that we stay in groups now. So most of us are in groups. If you know a friend, if you have friends, let us try to stay together. Whatever we have, we share them. If we need to go out to get a few things, let's move in groups. We have to also take our documents with us wherever we go. So that has been the message, and I think it has been sent out clearly to them.
Right, and the reason for which you're there is obviously for academic purposes. That's becoming unlikely now. How do you feel about that?
Yes, today the universities announced that all education proceedings be brought to a halt for now until further notice. So, meaning the funny thing is most students were not willing to leave because they were afraid of what might happen if they leave, because school was still in session. And I would like to state categorically that in Ukraine here, the education system is such in a way that you are bound to your payment of tuition and also your academic progress. So if you start missing classes, they can base on it and expel you. So some students were actually concerned with that. So they stayed here mainly for that. And today, we are not even having the classes. So that is the situation we find ourselves in now.
Obviously, the tension is between Russia and Ukraine. Let's get the picture of what's happening in Russia as well. The president for the National Union of Ghanaian Students there has also joined us via Zoom, Kojo Pobi, who would also give us their version of the story. Kojo, so here we are today. Yes, tension is building up much more in the Ukrainian territories, but what about Russia itself, and how are your colleagues feeling for their counterparts there in Kyiv?
Okay, thank you very much, and good afternoon to all your listeners. It's quite the opposite of what is happening in Ukraine. The terrain is very calm. All students, all Ghanaian students here are very calm and going about their normal duties. Tensions are in the atmosphere, but I think direct correspondence from the missions, as in the embassy, to the students' body, and back to the embassy is very effective. So the students are very calm. Definitely, we are having one or two students who are panicking here and there, but I can assure you that as it stands, communication from the National Executive Council, that's the leadership, is working tirelessly to make sure that everybody is safe. And the embassy is also giving us all the assurances that we need. So as it stands, yes, we are very safe and calm. And we are very much worried about Ukrainian counterparts. It's very disturbing because when you hear the news about the airspace being closed, you wonder how these people are going to get out, how your brothers and sisters are going to get out. have so many calls coming in here and there. But I believe that the government is being very proactive, and we have confidence in the government, and we hope that things will de-escalate in the shortest possible time so that everything will go back to normal.
Exactly what are the clear terms being given by the Ghanaian mission where you are? What are the directives to students over there? Give us a breakdown of the directives.
Okay, so the last communique we had, with the mission, the missions clearly stated to us that all databases have been collected, and if in the event of an unforeseen circumstance that there should be an evacuation, the mission is prepared with the Foreign Affairs. They've had a lot of communications to evacuate all students, that is, if the need arises. So I think that the missions are on top of issues when it comes to the current happenings now.
Gentlemen, stay on for me. Let me also bring in Dr. Patrick at this point. And Doc, I mean, we're just moving out of a pandemic. When the COVID started, obviously the Ghanaian missions abroad were having a challenge communicating to students and keeping them safe. At least, in fact, I mean, when you take a look at issues relating to communication, it became a challenge at some point. But here we are. This is not exactly a pandemic. This is much more an issue of war. How do you feel that the Ghanaian mission out there should be communicating to students in Kyiv?
Well, thank you very much. So as you rightly mentioned, when the COVID started, for example, in China, the Global Union of Ghanaian Students, together with the National Union of Ghanaian Students in China, worked hand in hand, and we realized that government came in with the intervention. They provided some food as well as some money as well. As you've rightly said, this is not what do you call it, a pandemic, and this is more of a political situation. Warfare, right? That way. And in as much as we're all looking forward to making sure that our students will be safe, I'm sure government is as well, because of the political nature of it. Government is been a bit, technical in how to go about it. So with regards to communication, I think as it stands, the best way, as the colleagues have indicated, is for the immediate steps to be taken as far as the safety of the students and the nationals they are concerned. And mind you, it's not only, let's say, Ghanaian students, but I think most of the different foreigners in Ukraine were actually taken surprised by this. So it's more of an emergency call, and I believe that with time, all the foreign ministries as well as the foreign embassies in general would come together to make sure that they find an amicable solution, so that if it's going to be an evacuation, or if it's going to be looking out for shelters specifically for foreign people, or if it's going to be, of course, we all want to make sure that diplomacy will win at the end, though there are escalations. But at the end of the day, we're hoping that things will calm down.
Okay. And being the secretary of the Global Union for Ghanaian Scholars, I'm sure that by now you're interacting with your counterparts from across the world. What examples are there to learn for our government also to adopt here as the best approach in dealing with this?
That's right. So as I've already indicated, we on the Global Union, we've been in touch with our counterparts in and around the diaspora, as well as different countries as well. And for example, with the pandemic issue, we realized that there was enough information ahead of time for that level of evacuation and all that. But this is a case where it's quite different, where most of the countries have actually been taken by surprise. So it's now more of a collective way of handling things. And we on the Global Union believe that this is a time for a collective effort in making sure that sustainability in Ukraine especially is preserved, so that nationals of various countries, students especially, since I think in Ukraine, for example, most of the foreign people over there are students, their governments would work together to make sure that they achieve one goal, which is to basically ensure that the well-being of their people over there isn't compromised. So I think government should make sure that they work hand in hand with their counterparts. I think that's the best way forward.
Right. I was going to ask Philip about what level of engagement has gone on before the tension escalated. The indication we got from the likes of the United Kingdom and the US was that they warned their citizens ahead of time. Philip, are you able to confirm or deny if indeed you were warned ahead of time, giving prior notice by the mission and giving directives as to what to do when the tension was starting?
We weren't, sorry. Sorry, can you hear me, please?
Yes, we're on with you. Yes.
Yeah, we weren't notified. We didn't receive anything from the ministry.
So there was no directive until now. So when was the last time you got some notification, at least from the officials there?
Today. We've been in constant communication with the embassy in Switzerland. So everything has been smooth today.
But that goes contrary to the earlier information you were giving about the level of engagement between yourselves and the Ghanaian officials as to possible evacuation plans and whatever it is that's involved at this point.
I think, okay, I can go a bit detailed if you want. So,
why not? Let's hear it out.
All right, sure. So I think when the hostility started, that was around last month, getting to the end of last month. It became evident across all the worldwide. I mean, the media spaces, everybody was talking about it. So when we saw that we as a student body address the situation in our attempt to encourage calmness and students not to panic, and also try to collect data in case there's the need for us to evacuate our citizens. That move was actually encouraged by the honorary consul designate of Ghana to Ukraine, Dr. Albert Kecha. So he gave me that directive, and then we released a notice to that effect. So we actually collected all that data from our people and sent to the embassy. So after that, we were expecting a response. Because we noticed that after we released that communique, we realized embassies in Ukraine, like India, Nigeria, Morocco, they also released a similar one, also collecting data of their citizens. So it was more like we are all moving in the same direction, just that with Ghanaians, the student body was in charge of matters. But for other citizens, it was just the embassies and their ministries advising them, giving them such advisory. So we wrote such letters to the embassy, which we indicated to be directed to the ministry, and quite waited for some time. We didn't get any response up till now. So it was today that we were able to establish that connection and then talk to them on how things are to be done from now. So that is it.
And at least we know now that you are safe. You will have one more opportunity to send that message across to the authorities. The foreign minister has spoken on this, but what will be your message to the Ghanaian government about the concerns you have as students studying in Ukraine?
Okay, before I address that about the government, I would also like to use this opportunity to encourage and also treat our parents. We've been getting calls from them. I would like to say that for now, as it stands now, talking about current matters, no student has been affected by the ongoing escalations, missile strikes and all of that. All of our students, we are in constant checkups. We are doing constant checkups. They are all in their homes. So for now, they can calm down a bit. We are still waiting for the government to come in for us. Now, getting back to what the government can do, in my communication with the embassy, they asked for my opinion. So I think it's only fair if I share that as well. Okay. I think we have established that Ukraine has closed its airspace, meaning that no commercial flights are working to or from Ukraine. So that means that until maybe some sort of bilateral communication goes on, or maybe by the intervention of international communities like UN or EU to call for a ceasefire and for Russia to listen and then actually cease fire, then means that no flight or rigs coming to Ukraine. The other means we can use that I also proposed was targeting the neighboring countries around Ukraine.
Okay, so what you mean to say, and what you mean to say on that point is that the option of evacuation is not off the table. Is that what you're suggesting? Because here in the country, we understand that there are some calls from the minority as well, asking the government of Ghana to explore that avenue. You have a strategy to that. How is that possible?
Absolutely. So in my communication with the embassy, I told them that we can exploit that. Evacuation by land. That is to go through the neighboring countries like Poland, Moldova, and then all other, or Romania. So I think with that, I think our government can start, communications with them and see how best they can accept Ghanaian citizens into their country, then help to evacuate through their soil. So one thing I would like to say is that if you travel by land and you want to cross border to Poland, what that means is that you need visa, even if you need a Schengen visa, and now nobody has that now. Some students tried even before yesterday, and they were arrested by the Ukraine authorities. So we need diplomacy now. We need some conversation to go on between our government and also maybe Ukrainian government, all parties involved. If we are using maybe Poland, if we are using Romania, they should be in the conversation.
Right.
Try to establish that kind of connection so that we can mobilize our students and go through that channel.
Right, Philip, we need to go, but your SOS message to the government, I guess you were about making that point.
Yes, so I'm saying that our government, this is just my opinion, by the way. I think that should be stated on record. My opinion is that since evacuation by air is not possible now, we can also exploit evacuation by land, which is, our government getting in touch with neighboring communities, neighboring countries like Poland, which is in the western part of Ukraine. So they can establish that communication, try to see how much, how the extent we can go to help receive our students should they get to their borders. Because if you go there without a visa, you've not made any decision, taking asylum of, refugees from Ukraine or anything of that sort. So that is why I'm suggesting that maybe our government can be in touch with them, try to establish that bilateral relation and see if they will respond, and then pay homage to that and accept Ghanaian citizens, about 1,500 Ghanaian citizens on Ukraine to make this thing happen. So that is my opinion. Yeah.
I get that point. Kojopobi, do you agree with that? Is that feasible?
It's possible, yeah, it's possible. But as I'm aware that some routes have been closed in Ukraine, I think probably when there are diplomatic conversations, there should be a way, because I believe that even when there's serious outburst, they can have a ceasefire to fly out people. So I think that the diplomatic conversations should keep going on, and I think government should be highly proactive in this, because our brothers on the other side really need this.
Dr. Patrick, let me wrap up with you. What will be that message that we need to take, obviously, as Ghanaians here watching the developments out there, and also to parents as well? You are secretary for the Global Union of Scholars, so what will be your assurance to parents as well?
Well, most importantly, I think every guardian, every parent, we understand that we are in a tension-filled moment. However, worrying wouldn't solve the issue. So we would urge and would like to call for an amicable calmness towards the situation. In our positions, we will do our very best to make sure that our brothers and sisters in Ukraine are safe for the least. And as the presidents of Ukraine and Russia, they've already indicated, we're all in touch with government, and we're looking forward to seeing how best diplomacy can work as far as if it's evacuation or ensuring that people are safe. So we just like to urge everyone in Ghana, home and abroad, to remain calm about the situation. And we just urge that you keep on praying for them, and hopefully there'll be a light at the end of the tunnel as it stands. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. We'll keep our eyes on this. Stay with us on the JoyNews channel. We'll give you all the latest that you need to know about the developing situation, tension between Russia and Ukraine. But I'm grateful that you've been able to share your insights with us, and also giving us the latest perspective of students back there in Ukraine. Don't forget that still to come here on the polls, the Convention People's Party CPP is today marking 56 years since the overthrow of former President Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Ghana's first president was overthrown by the National Liberation Council, and we'll give you details of all of that once we return from this break. Stay with us here on the polls.
The ruler is useless, you depose him.
The first night was more or less sleepless night. Couldn't sleep. I was thinking about what was happening in my house.
Now we know that it's text day, and that will definitely mean that with more than 8 million people on social media users, particularly in Ghana, it is expected information on COVID-19 vaccination will be readily accessible through these portals. But that is not the case in a new joint study by the KNUST School of Public Health, University of Development Studies, and the IRIS Research Consortium. The study found close to 60% of the over 2,000 correspondents had information on COVID-19 vaccination through the traditional media. On Tech Thursday, JoyNews' medical correspondent, Dr. Neta Parsam, speaks with one of the lead scientists, Dr. John Moisi of the School of Public Health, KNUST.
The role of media and other information sources on information dissemination cannot be underestimated. The researchers therefore analyzed the role of information sources on vaccine hesitancy. Though it was an online study, the researchers found the larger number of respondents obtained their information through traditional media.
Where people had heard of COVID-19 vaccination, and overwhelmingly, and this is really important, majority got it from regular media, especially television. This was about 58, close to 60%. Social media was just about 30%. We should tell you that, and this is an online survey. So it should tell you that in the general population that may not have had access to this online survey, most likely that traditional media sources would have been the way they heard about it. So it should tell you we sometimes there's too much emphasis on social media, but that may only target a certain section of the population. And so it's really important that we take advantage of our traditional radio, TV, newspapers, and all that to push the message forward to people.
Despite the wide use of social media, traditional media is still in vogue. Reporting for JoyNews, Dr. Neta Parsam.
Well, now let's talk about the labor agitations. The Fair Wages and Salaries Commission is making a final attempt at bringing closure to the concerns of the University Teachers Association of Ghana, UTAG. Now, fresh negotiations are underway between both parties after the Fair Wages Commission last night invited leadership of UTAG to deal with their concerns before the expiration of the 10-day window of opportunity to end the strike. Meanwhile, we understand that President Akufo-Addo is expected to join stakeholders at the National Labour Conference scheduled to start next Monday. The Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations explains that this move is aimed at ensuring timely response to happenings on the labour front. Fortunately, we've been joined now by El Ankra, who's Head of Public Affairs at the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, joining us now to provide some clarity to what's going on between the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission as well as UTAG, and then what we are to expect at the National Labour Conference. El, first of all, break down the expectations about the meeting for us. What are we to expect out of this engagement between your outfit and leadership of UTAG? El Ankra, we seem to be having a challenge hearing you. If you could unmute for us so we can hear you. Well.
Hello, can you hear me?
El, if you can hear me, I'm asking one more about the expectation out of the meetings that are underway between the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission as well as leadership of UTAG. What's the expected outcome?
Well, the meeting started today. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yeah, good, great. Okay, so the meeting started today and it was quite cordial. We could not go deep into the issues. It was an introductory meeting. Remember, this is the first time we're meeting since the call of the strike, and following the calling of the strike, Fair Wages was then at liberty to invite them for the engagement process. So that was what happened today. Nothing much. We've not gone into the hard crust yet, but this was how it went. It went about.
It's interesting that you made a last-minute call, if I may call it that way. Pardon me if I'm not referring to it right, but we understand that the meeting was called last night. Is that to say that government is finally seeing reason with the concerns that UTAG has?
Well, government always finds reasons with concerns that any group of workers have. Of course, there have been discussions. So letter was actually before then. There had been engagements as to the setting of the date for the meeting. Definitely, we couldn't have just written a letter without earlier consultations, just like last night, and expect the members from all around the country to assemble this morning. So there had been earlier engagements.
And so we don't intend to dwell so much on the meeting, but how long will this engagement go on? Because the fear out there and the anxiety on the part of parents as well is that, well, this is another cycle of tussle between government and UTAG. In the end, the students may suffer again. How about that?
Yeah, I understand the concerns that you are expressing, but this is the thing with the conduct of negotiations. No one party is able to say, okay, this is how this meeting, how long this engagement is supposed to run, and this is when we expect it to end. It's a negotiation, and we are at the within early days yet. The parties will have to then decide together what the key issues are, what it will take to resolve the key issues, and then we'll be able to tell how long it's going to run. The important thing is both parties are at the table, are around the table, and that's what all stakeholders have been talking about since they went on strike.
Right, and at least we know that this is just part of the bigger conversation that is set to happen later. That will be next week. We're expecting that the president, of course, will join stakeholders and also the Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations to have the National Labour Conference. What are we to expect out of this series of engagements that will start next Monday?
It's great. It's a two-day conference, the National Labour Conference, and like you rightly said, the keynote address will be delivered by His Excellency the President, and then there will be other contributions from the main stakeholders, that's organization, employer, and going to happen under the theme strengthening tripartism for building peaceful labor relations and resilient economy. So as the tripartite stands, the Minister for Employment is the one who chairs the tripartite. He will be there to deliver his speech, and then employers with Mr. Champon from Ghana Employers Association will say something concerning their end, and then Dr. Yauba, who is the Secretary General of Trades Union Congress of Ghana, will be there. The Minister for Finance will also be there to give a technical presentation on the state of the economy. And then the following day, we'll go into technical discussions, which will look at salaries and conditions of service and productivity, on global pensions, sustainable pensions, and then another key issue on prevention and managing labor disputes. So these are the key issues that will be dealt with.
The opening statement, I mean, I wish we had that statement now on the screen so you could respond to that, but it appears that you're giving an indication, and I mean by extension the ministry, that we don't have a timely response to issues happening on the labor front, and for which reason you are bringing stakeholders together to coordinate and to devise a better strategy. Is that to say that that's what's accounting for instance, the protracted deadlock between UTAG and the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission and other issues happening on the labor front generally? El, if you can hear me, I hope you're on with us.
The engage tight, remember, is something that occurs period, happens to be one that we are holding on the national level. So it's not something we might want to call a knee-jerk reaction to whatever labor agitations there have been so far. Tripartite meets periodically, and this is one of them. It said that this one is on a more or less national scale.
The connection is not so favorable, but I would want to find out if you could have your last take on this. But what's the assurance out there to parents, those who may be waiting on the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, to at least give them some level of assurance on the negotiations that we have going on? Okay, we seem to be having some challenges there. But definitely, as and when we have any updates from the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission on the outcome of the negotiations ongoing, which is actually underway as we speak, between UTAG and his outfit, we'll bring you some updates on that. Remember that this is The Pulse with me, Blessed Sugan. We'll return with some more stories. Stay with us. Military Command says it has commenced investigations into the torching of houses at Broso in the Ejuma Mpunya district of the Ashanti region. Now, a military task force set ablaze a number of excavators in the town during an exercise to clamp down on illegal mining activities. Some residents, however, allege the soldiers burnt houses near the site. General Commander Officer, Central Command, Brigadier General Joseph Afo, says investigations are ongoing into the traces of petrol leading to the fire on the house.
I must say, the operation was very successful, but sadly, an unfortunate incident happened during the operations. Around 07:30 hours, one of our teams deployed at Ntobrosu at the Echuma in Ponua district sighted 4 excavators which have been used for massive destruction on the River Ofin. These excavators were moved and parked close by the river, which is also close to the settlement. 2 excavators were set ablaze, but tragically, a close-by house which was being used by the illegal miners as a fuel storage to supply fuel for the excavators caught fire. This happened because, though the house was quite far from the burning excavators, the fuel spillage from the house to the excavators also caught fire, causing the fire to travel to the house. Fortunately enough, no lives were lost. Efforts on the part of the personnel, our personnel present to prevent the fire from reaching the house was thwarted when the locals started attacking them with stones and other offensive implements. The personnel called in the fire service around Nkawe, and on their arrival, they were equally assaulted and their fire tender destroyed. I would like to assure you that investigations would be conducted immediately to ascertain the circumstances that led to this unfortunate incident. I also want to use this opportunity to reach out to the communities. We rely on your support to eradicate illegal mining and thus save our environment. To achieve this, our communities must also play a crucial role in these operations. I would also wish to take this opportunity to impress upon the media to be cautious in their reportage on this singular situation in order not to undermine the good intent of the Ghana Armed Forces in the just cause so as to consolidate the gains we have made in the fight.
Now, President Akufo-Addo is giving the strongest indication that the Komenda Sugar Factory will start operations in April this year. According to him, civil works being undertaken by the Indian investors will be completed by end of March, paving way for the production of sugar to begin. The operationalization of the factory was perhaps one of the major political issues in the central region. In the 2016 and 2020 elections, the Komenda sugar factory continues to remain a big albatross on the neck of government, receiving a delegation from the Komenda Traditional Authority. The president said government is determined to get the factory running. More on him shortly, but first listen to the acting president of the Komenda Traditional Council, Nana Kwahin V, who says a 20-acre land has been secured to grow sugarcane to feed the factory.
Meno KCCC, Komenda Sugar Factory have started. Actually, almost about 50 more from my shower. Since I war painting as it was on Chebiano, Yobasha for the processing with the raw material. Now, Mr. President, outgrowers here at this time because the original land now were allocated for our friend and sugar factory, no, about 5,000 and over. No, see, them land now about by year if he see, Commander man was here, then come find sugar factory, no, protein ha sugar factory is ready. Name to me yafa into me new shade no sabi Nkrumah ho na yewo asase a o wasa fiase side wa yene na wasa na heman yakasa ma won so waje atomu there time no so for maybe production or sugarcane production na obeyi asase na was ayede mejuma no.
While President Akufo-Addo himself is optimistic, the factory will generate the needed jobs for residents in the region and sugarcane outgrowers.
Sugar factory. Still, some civil works are being done there. Nyampa, by the end of March, it will be completed. As I say planning, no Indian fauna by whenever by April. Production will have begun of the sugar factory. Sugar factory, Baba has some cassia. You say 1 year, Zukoya, na Aquaba, Yami, Adaruma, Afidia, and say, Muamu who say, Isiko and Paso, nearby. In tea, Yavenia may say by April, no, Nanyamanu a 2 year,
And that's a wrap for today's edition of The Pulse. My name is Blessed Sugan. Log on to myjoyonline.com. That's our hub for all of the latest on our running stories. Obviously, we'll be back same time tomorrow. Stay with us here on the Joy News channel.